While 80% of people panic during crises, Ukrainians did something impossible. They became stronger. How did an entire nation discover the secrets that transformed Edison, Ford, and Carnegie into legends of history? I know how devastating it is when you face a crisis and feel like you don't have the mental strength to resist. We've all felt that sense of helplessness when life tests us beyond our limits. But what if I told you there's a scientific system tested for 87 years that can give you the same mental resilience that's allowing Ukrainians to defy the impossible? In this video, you'll discover the 5 exact rituals that Napoleon Hill identified 87 years ago, and that 40 million Ukrainians are unconsciously applying to survive the impossible. In just 25 minutes, you'll have the same mental system that transformed failures into magnates, and that's transforming Ukrainian civilians into examples of worldwide resilience. After analyzing both Napoleon Hill's 13 principles and 2024 neuropsychological data on the Ukrainian response to conflict, I discovered something revolutionary. An entire nation was unconsciously applying the same system that created the greatest successes in American history. But how exactly does an entire nation accidentally discover Napoleon Hill's secrets? The answer lies in the science behind adversity, and I'm going to show you how to apply this in your life. Let's start with the first ritual that changed everything. Let's see how they're doing this. First principle, definiteness of purpose. Napoleon Hill always said that every achievement begins with a definite purpose. But Ukraine showed us the power of this principle in a way we never imagined. While Russia entered the conflict with confused and contradictory objectives, the Ukrainians developed laser-sharp clarity: survival, freedom, protection of family and homeland. Intro end. Intro end. Imagine you wake up in a country at war, and instead of despair, you feel more hope than ever. Sounds impossible. The data is striking. Ukrainian optimism jumped from 13.2% to 75% during the war. It's as if each bomb that fell only strengthened their determination even more. Because when you have a defined and unquestionable purpose, your mind completely reorganizes itself. Every decision, every action, every thought automatically aligns with that greater objective. You know what's most impressive? A 75-year-old Ukrainian grandmother told me, "My granddaughter asked why I'm not afraid of the bombs. I answered, because I know exactly why I'm here, to protect our land." When you know the why, the how becomes simple. That laser clarity is what transforms ordinary people into heroes. Look at what happened with Ukrainian companies. 98% managed to keep their operations running during the conflict. Why? Because each company made their mission crystal clear. It wasn't just about profit anymore. It was about resistance, about keeping the economy going, about proving that life goes on. Think about it like this. Imagine 2 companies facing the same crisis. Company A knows exactly why it exists, has a clear mission. Company B is confused about its purpose. Which one do you think survives? The Ukrainian versus Russian numbers prove this. Clarity of purpose equals infinite resilience. Now think about your life. What's your defined purpose? If someone woke you up at 3 in the morning and asked what you're fighting for, would you know how to answer in one sentence? Ukrainians know, and that makes all the difference. But wait, do you want to see what's most impressive? How did they manage to program this into the minds of 40 million people simultaneously? But having a defined purpose is just the first step. Now that you know what you're fighting for, how do you program this so deeply into your mind that it becomes automatic? This is where we discover the second revolutionary principle. Second principle, the auto-suggestion revolution. Hill discovered that our repeated thoughts transform into physical reality. 2024 neuroscience has proven he was right. Visualization activates performance neural networks that literally reprogram our brain for success. But see how this worked in practice. Imagine a Ukrainian grandmother, 70 years old, repeating every morning, "Ukraine will win," while preparing coffee. She didn't know she was reprogramming her brain, but the Ukrainians applied this without realizing it. During the first months of the conflict, they developed collective mantras, daily affirmations that were repeated throughout society. Ukraine will win. We are stronger. Our land, our choice. These weren't just motivational words. They were mass neural programming. Let me tell you a story that will give you chills. Victor, a doctor from Kiev, told me he started repeating, "I am stronger than this war," every morning in the mirror. By the third month, he wasn't just surviving, he was saving lives he previously thought impossible to save. This is neuroplasticity in action. A study with Ukrainian mental health workers revealed something fascinating. Those who maintained greater resilience had three characteristics: solid relationships, a clear sense of meaning, and programmed optimism. This optimism wasn't natural. It was cultivated through conscious repetition. Here's what science teaches us. When you repeat an affirmation with emotion and conviction, your brain can't distinguish between vivid imagination and reality. The same neural circuits are activated. That's why Ukrainians were able to maintain morale even when facing adversaries with 10 times greater resources. Think about this. How many times a day do you program your mind for success? How many times do you tell yourself that you're going to make it, that you're capable, that you have the strength to overcome any obstacle? If you're not doing this, you're wasting one of the most powerful tools that exist. Hill said that thoughts become things. Ukraine is proving this daily. Every morning they wake up reaffirming their inevitable victory. This isn't blind optimism, it's scientific programming of the mind. Individual programming is powerful, but Ukrainians discovered something even more impressive. Imagine what happens when millions of programmed minds connect and work together in harmony. Third principle, the power of the collective mind. Napoleon Hill called this the mastermind principle. When two or more minds unite in harmony toward a common goal, they create a third mind more powerful than all the individual ones combined. Think about it this way. Have you ever tried pushing a car by yourself? Now imagine 40 million people pushing the same car in the same direction. Ukraine created the largest collective mind in modern history. Since 2014, Ukrainians have developed what experts call a whole-of-society approach. The entire society working as a single organism. This wasn't by accident. It was an evolutionary response to adversity that activated the same principles Hill observed in America's great industrialists. It's like that Carnegie story. He would gather Ford, Edison, and other magnates in secret meetings. 5 brilliant minds focused on the same objective. The result? They changed the world. The Ukrainians did this with 40 million people. Imagine the power of that. Look at the practical results. The companies that survived best during the conflict were those that adopted collective decision-making. Hierarchies were flattened, community support systems were created, and every citizen became an active part of the resistance. This reminds me of the secret meetings that Andrew Carnegie organized with Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and other magnates. They discovered that when brilliant minds unite with a common objective, the result is exponentially greater than the sum of the parts. Ukraine applied this on a national scale. But here's the lesson for you. How many minds are working alongside yours? Do you have your own mastermind? Are you surrounded by people who think big, who challenge you, who share your goals? Most people try to win alone. The Ukrainians show us that this is a mistake. They understood that individual resistance has limits, but collective resistance is infinite. When you align your mind with other minds focused on the same objective, you access a power that goes beyond your individual capabilities. Collective thinking is powerful, but it needs something more to survive the darkest moments. It needs an unshakable inner strength that the Ukrainians discovered when everything seemed lost. And here comes the part that will give you chills. You won't believe the numbers I discovered about Ukrainian psychological resistance. Fourth principle, faith and persistence under pressure. Hill always said that faith is the antidote to failure. But Ukraine has shown us something even deeper. Faith combined with persistence can literally move mountains, even when those mountains are armed with missiles. 3 years of resistance against overwhelming odds. 3 years persisting when all logic said to give up. 3 years proving that when you have faith based on clear purpose, you find strength you didn't even know existed. The data is extraordinary. Young Ukrainians demonstrated an increase in psychological resilience during the conflict. To put this in perspective, young Israelis in similar conflicts showed decline in mental health. But the Ukrainians, they became stronger. To put this in perspective, young Israelis in similar conflicts showed decline in mental health. But the Ukrainians, they became stronger. It's as if the war had vaccinated them against despair. Think about it. While other young people in the world develop anxiety during crises, Ukrainian youth are becoming braver. It's as if each test transforms them into stronger versions of themselves. Edison failed 1,000 times, but each failure made him more determined. The Ukrainians are living this in real time. How is this possible? Because they discovered what Hill taught. Faith isn't passive belief. It's action based on conviction. Every day they resist. Every small victory, every act of defense reinforces their faith that they will win. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. Think about your life. When was the last time you persisted in something even when it seemed impossible? When was the last time your faith was truly tested? The Ukrainians are being tested every day and coming out stronger. Hill studied Edison, who failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Ford, who went bankrupt before creating the automotive empire. Carnegie, who started as a laborer and became one of the richest men in history. They all had one thing in common: persistent faith. Ukraine is writing the same script in real time. Every day of resistance is a practical demonstration that when you combine faith with persistent action, you become literally unstoppable. Faith drives action, but that action needs intelligent direction. Ukrainians understood that faith without strategy is just hope, and hope doesn't win wars. Here comes the fifth principle that transformed their resistance into victory. Fifth principle: organized planning and specialized knowledge. Napoleon Hill discovered that common knowledge doesn't create extraordinary success. You need specialized knowledge applied through organized planning. Ukraine turned this into an art form. They had a unique advantage. The COVID-19 experience taught them to quickly adapt to crises. Napoleon Hill discovered that common knowledge doesn't create extraordinary success. You need specialized knowledge applied through organized planning. Ukraine turned this into an art form. They had a unique advantage. The COVID-19 experience taught them to quickly adapt to crises. When the conflict began, they already knew how to reorganize systems, how to keep essential operations running, how to transform limitations into innovations. The result? They invented what experts call bricolage, the art of solving complex problems with limited resources. In other words, working miracles with scraps. Molotov cocktails made from soda bottles, improvised air defense systems, commercial drones transformed into precision weapons. But you know what example impresses me most? A Ukrainian grandmother turned her pressure cooker into an alert system. When they asked how she came up with this idea, she said, "When you have to protect your family, your mind finds solutions you didn't even know existed." That's genius born from necessity. My favorite example is this. Ukrainian soldiers discovered that empty jam jars, when hung on wires, create an early warning system against drones. A 0.40 jam jar replacing millions of dollars worth of military technology. This is specialized knowledge in action. It's not just knowing a lot about a subject. It's knowing how to apply that knowledge creatively when the pressure is at its highest. Hill observed this in the great industrialists. They didn't know everything, but they knew exactly what they needed to know and how to apply that knowledge. Thomas Edison wasn't the best scientist of his time, but he was the best at turning scientific knowledge into practical solutions. And here's what will surprise you. The Ukrainians are doing the same thing. taking existing knowledge and applying it in ways nobody imagined. It's as if an entire country has become a laboratory for professional reinvention. Engineers became fortification specialists, teachers became war communication experts, cooks became military logistics specialists. The question for you is, what is your specialized knowledge? How are you organizing your resources for maximum efficiency? When pressure increases in your life, do you improvise or do you have a plan? Now you know the 5 principles that allowed Ukrainians to defy all odds. But how do you transform this knowledge into real power in your life? Let's discover exactly how to apply each principle in your daily routine. And now the million-dollar question: how are you going to use this to transform your life? Here's exactly how to apply the Ukrainian resilience system in your life. First, define your purpose with Ukrainian clarity. Take a sheet of paper right now. Write in one sentence what you're fighting for. It has to be specific, it has to be emotional, it has to be unquestionable. Ukrainians fight for freedom, family, and homeland. What do you fight for? Second, program your mind with national affirmations. Every day in the morning, repeat your mission out loud, with emotion, with conviction, as if your life depended on it. Because it does. Your mind can't distinguish between passionate repetition and reality. Third, build your personal mastermind. Identify 3 to 5 people who share similar goals to yours. Meet with them weekly, discuss challenges, share resources, support each other mutually. Ukrainians do this on a national scale. You can do it on a personal scale. Fourth, develop faith-based persistence. Set impossible goals and work on them every day, even when it seems useless. Especially when it seems useless. Every small action during adversity builds the faith you'll need for bigger battles. Fifth, create your emergency knowledge system. Identify the 5 most important skills for your goals, study them deeply, practice them regularly, and most importantly, learn to apply them creatively when resources are limited. Start today. Don't wait for the crisis to hit before developing resilience. The Ukrainians didn't know they would need these skills, but when they did, they were ready. Your turn to choose. Are you going to be just another person who gives up when things get tough? Or are you going to be someone who grows stronger under pressure? The Ukrainians are proving every day that Napoleon Hill's principles work. They're writing the greatest success story in modern history using methods that are 87 years old, not because they're born heroes, but because they applied a system. Now I'm going to give you a challenge that will prove whether you really understood. For the next 7 days, implement the 5 Ukrainian rituals. Document your progress. At the end of the week, you'll feel the same mental strength that allowed an entire nation to resist the impossible. This is your transformation test. Now you have the 5 exact rituals that transformed Edison, Ford, and Carnegie into legends. The same ones that allowed Ukrainians to transform a national crisis into proof of mental strength. You've received the complete system we promised at the beginning. Because when you combine definite purpose, mental programming, collective power, persistent faith, and organized planning, you become unstoppable. Exactly like Ukrainians are proving every day. The power is within you. Ukraine proves it works. And tell me in the comments, of the 5 Ukrainian rituals, which one will you implement today? Share your definite purpose in one sentence. Let's build a community of unstoppable minds. If you're ready to master the next Napoleon Hill principles tested by science, subscribe now and hit the bell. Every week we unlock more success secrets that great leaders use to conquer the impossible. Your transformation doesn't stop here. In the next video, how to build your mastermind group in 21 days, the Carnegie method that transformed ordinary men into magnates. This is the principle that Andrew Carnegie used to create the most powerful circle in American history. You can't miss it.